I am in trouble. I was like, yeah, I definitely have those ones where like, I can't believe my mom used to.
Right now, I am Annie Marriage, and I am the vice chair. Okay, so y'all will have to put up with me until the quorum happens, okay? So with our staff here, with Tanya and Khalil. Oh, and here is our chair, so I don't have to, you all don't have to work with me. So let him handle it. Not only you got dark curly, but the tiny seeds of them. Yeah.
We don't have.
No, we don't.
Okay, go ahead. All right, we're going to, we don't have a quorum, so we're going to move right into. Public comments. You want with public comments?
That's me. That's me.
Okay.
Yes. So, good evening, Chair Gilmore, board members. I am Cordell Hendler, and I'm a Richmond resident. So, I'm on Zoom. So, hopefully, everyone can hear my voice. So, I do have some good news to share with you all. So, let's see. You are cordially invited to attend the Commission on Aging Senior Winter Ball on December the 16th from 6 to 10 p.m. at the Richmond Auditorium. And the tickets are still $45, so they're still on sale. So that's one. And then the second idea is I had mentioned it last month about having a timekeeper at the meeting, so that way whoever is speaking, that way whoever is speaking, they will be allowed a certain amount of time to speak on their items. So hopefully that can be added to, like to make the meetings, more efficient. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, the people, those minutes.
Good evening. I wanted to let you know a couple of things. So, some of us are volunteering with Food for Thought starting this weekend, the 9th through the 13th or 14th. We're preparing food bags for about 700 families going to 14 schools. So, if you'd like to be part of that volunteer effort, you can let me know, and we'll get you set up on the schedule. Secondly, I wanted to let you know that Ricky from our education, our extended education at Urban Health, he'll be doing a Zoom on on home gardening. So I'll put that in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on the Zoom? I don't see any.
Cynthia has her hand up.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I would just like to thank everyone for donating for my annual senior Thanksgiving event this year. It was much appreciated, and I look forward to your donations next year.
Thanks, Cynthia. Any other else? Zoom. Public.
Morning and members of the council. My name is Bob Alice, representing Contra Costa County Fire. I thought I'd take a couple of minutes of your time and kind of give you an update on what's been going on recently in the fire district. During the month of October and into early November, we transitioned out of peak fire season. It was a very wet fire season, as you know, so there wasn't really much going on. Our hand crew, which has been doing a lot of work around the county, with the emphasis in the November through mid-April timeframe, is going to be supporting a fuel reduction project throughout the county. We're making preparations now for an entry-level firefighter academy that will start during the first week of January of 2024 to add an additional 15 recruits to our ranks. So we're pretty excited about that. The process for selecting a new ambulance subcontractor is coming up here relatively quickly. As you know now, our ambulance subcontractor is American Medical Response. They are on a contract that will run out, and they will open up the bidding to bid for the full county emergency ambulance program in 2024. That's in its final stage of the time. 12 firefighters we are sponsoring right now, going through paramedic school, and are progressing well with an average class score of over 92%, and they should be added into the ranks here fairly soon. Our fire investigation unit was busy this last month with 4 separate incidents that involved arson arrests in vegetation and structure fires. We have noticed a considerable uptick in fires in unoccupied dwellings. So that would be buildings that used to be businesses that are no longer businesses, that the unhoused population has moved into, because there's no power in those units, and they go ahead and make their own, and it creates a problem for us. It creates an unnecessary hazard. So we have to think about that. But we do have people that are addressing that. We added 3 new fire dispatchers recently, and hope to begin the final phases of our construction to our new communication center in the first quarter of 2024. We recently received 2 new water tenders from Peer Manufacturing and Manufactured Fire Apparatus out of Appleton, Wisconsin, and we continue to upgrade our fleet to keep up with the change. I did want to read something to you. This came directly from the fire chief. Recently, some of you may know, we lost one of our firefighters to occupational cancer. And so I wanted to read this from the fire chief. Firefighter John Martinez passed away in the early hours of Sunday, November 12th, 2023, at the age of 34 from occupational related cancer. John was a U.S. Army veteran, having served 2 combat tours of duty in Iraq and Afghanistan, and was honorably discharged at the rank of sergeant. John began his career at Contra Costa Fire on October 2nd of 2017 as a firefighter recruit to Academy number 51. He was a firefighter working out of Station 9 in Pacheco for almost the entirety of his career with the fire district. John was raised in Antioch, resided in Oakley, and leaves behind a wife, Sarah, and 2 children, Dominic, 12, and daughter, Kaylee, 3 years old. A vigil was held on the evening of Monday, November 27th, with a memorial service and burial on Tuesday, November 28th in Antioch. The memorial service was attended by over 500 people, including almost 300 firefighters. crews from far away and step rhythm and as close to the county fire agency were made available to cover the district for all of the calls that occurred during the time of the vigil, so that all of our members could attend. Firefighter cancer or cancer in firefighters is viewed in the general population increasing. Firefighters are approximately 10 times more susceptible to occupational related cancer on average have a lifespan of 10 years less than the average population. So we are addressing this. Assembly Member Tim Grayson from the Concord area has secured funding for us to take a look into exactly why all these things are occurring. So we are moving forward, but it is sad to report that we will continue to lose firefighters throughout the time.
The police reports, we have a sheriff department.
Good evening, my name is Deputy Mayor Scott, Sheriff's Office. So we're primary focus is data and AT&T telephone lines, we're still trying to, we have found and we've made arrests with regards to the theft, but it is still seems to be an ongoing issue. So we are still diligently trying to capture the suspects in the department. In addition, the behind Verde Elementary, I know it's been foot patrolling out there at least 5-6 times a week in the morning and in the evening. A couple of deputies are out there trying to get the contact, trying to get it set up as well. As far as the statistics for the month of November, we actually have a drop overall. Say from month of October to November, like 50% drop in overall. So in November, we had 2 recovered stolen vehicles, 1 grand theft report, petty theft report, and damage. Which tells us that we are pushing forward.
Questions from the Zoom? Any questions? All right. Okay, thank you very much. Going to the police department, anyone represented? Or highway patrol? Anybody on the Zoom? The police department or another? Amen. Gonna move on to our general plan and climate action.
Thank you, members of the MAC, members of the community. My name is John Koptic. I'm the director of the county's Department of Conservation and Development, which is like the planning and building department. And I'm joined by my colleague, Jody London, who's the county sustainability coordinator. And I want to refer everyone to this colorful booklet that hopefully you have in front of you. What I'm here to talk to you about is the general plan. And the general plan, for those who don't know, is kind of like the constitution for land use in a land use jurisdiction. So counties and cities all have a general plan. I started at the county in 1995. I'm a little long in the tooth now, but when I started, I wasn't, and the general plan was new. And now, you know, almost 30 years later, we're doing a new general plan. So this doesn't come around that often. So it's an important thing for folks to pay attention to, because we don't change a general plan every year. So we've been going through an extensive process that started pre-pandemic and was kind of hung up by the pandemic, but we had community meetings in North Richmond and all the other unincorporated areas of the county to get input on this new general plan. And if you I'm just going to walk through some pages of it, because this is not the general plan. This is the summary booklet. The general plan is not even in print. It's 500 pages long. It's available digitally, and there's a little thing to click on the back that would take you to it. But we have, for the first time, kind of set forth a vision And that's on the front page. And I would say, when I started at the county, the general plan was all about traffic and sprawl development, and we don't want more sprawl development and more traffic. And it wasn't so much about impacted communities. This general plan is all about communities like North Richmond that are near source of pollution and have been kind of overlooked, and that we want to reinvest in. So that's really one of the themes of the general plan. If you turn to the second page, you see kind of the timeline that we have in terms of how we developed it. Started in 2018. We're going to go to the board next summer. We go to the planning commission. There are 4 themes woven throughout the general plan. This is at the direction of the board, and you can see at the bottom, environmental justice is one of those themes, economic development, community health, and sustainability. If you look at the third page, there's a table that lists all the chapters of the general plan. Stronger communities, land use, transportation, conservation, public facilities, health and safety, and growth management. Those 4 themes I mentioned are woven throughout all of those chapters. And there's community profiles in the stronger communities element, and that's part of the packet. If anybody wants a copy of the North Richmond community profile, I have 5 of these if anybody would like them. And this is new in the general plan. We didn't used to have something that's tailored to each community. So it has maps and statistics, and has the goals and vision of the community has for itself. The next page is the environmental justice page. We have this important map in here where we identify impacted communities, state and disadvantaged communities. But the feedback we heard was that term wasn't as empowering as saying, because we want these communities to thrive and we don't. So we're using the term impacted communities. They're marked in orange. North Richmond is one of them. It means they face a higher than normal pollution burden. These communities also have experienced health deficits relative to the rest of the community, generally don't have the same access to other things in the general plan. It's not a magic wand. I don't want you to think that you adopt the general plan, day after everything's, all the injustices of the past will be addressed. But the idea is we're setting a vision to move toward the path of addressing those. Community health is the next page. This is we have a lot of policies in the general plan about access to healthy food, about not having food deserts, about having walkable communities that are safe. If you turn to the next page, many people think that planners like me, we only focus on maps. There is a big map in the general plan, best viewed online, but this map shows the allowable land uses. And so North Richmond is in the extreme west edge, and you can see the difference between, the southern portion of North Richmond with its more residential uses and the more commercial uses north of the creek. Yes.
Regarding the general plan. Oh, sorry. Hi, everyone. I'm Jody London. It's worth noting in the general plan that we've consolidated the number of land use types that in the current general plan there's more. And so one of the biggest ones I think that our colleague Will Nelson talks about a lot is that we are combining a lot of the different residential categories into a general mixed use, which makes more sense for the way communities are developing these days.
Consolidating into mixed use, but also no longer differentiating between single family residential and multifamily residential. Residential, it comes in different shapes and sizes, all of them helpful, but we have different densities. But we used to have, this is only a single family residential, and that's kind of more old fashioned thinking and planning, and we're trying to get away from that. After the map is economic development. This is one of our pillars, and it's one of the things we hear and talk about. Yeah, please.
Quick question. Can you explain light industrial since Richmond is highlighted in that color? And the reason why is that over the past couple of months, there's been a lot of feedback considering all the semi trucks that pass through Market Avenue, Fred Jackson as well. So what does that mean for the future of Richmond being considered light industrial?
Great question. So light industrial, the main difference between light industrial and heavy industrial is that heavy industrial includes things like refineries with more emissions. So those would not be allowed, but light industrial, what you're seeing moving in the FedEx project, what you're seeing in there are more warehouse type uses. Those are allowed in North Richmond. And we happy to go into longer detail, but when we condition these new projects, we do our best to make sure that the semi-truck traffic can only go out to the parkway and not down Fred Jackson or into the residential portions. Good question. And I will say that between the last and current plan, there has been an attempt to change the part of North Richmond that's currently light industrial to residential, and project was approved there, but never built. And so the property owner came to us and asked, like, we can't finance a residential project here. We want to go back to light industrial. So the community did have a moment, you know, a 10-year moment where residential was more envisioned there, but it didn't happen. Yeah, and most of those areas used to be nurseries. So that's why you're seeing a transformation from flower growing and kind of agriculture into these more industrial uses that are light industrials like warehouses. And if it's okay with the chair, would you like me to take questions from the audience? Or keep it going? Not quite. So when I finish, and then okay. So economic development and sustainability are two other pillars, and I will turn it over to Jody because the climate action plan is a whole separate document.
Yes, hi. So I lead implementation of our climate action plan, which is a document that says these are the steps and the activity we're going to take to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, both in the community and from our county facilities. And if you look at this chart at the bottom of page, whatever it is, with the bars, the green bars show what our emissions profile is right now. And the yellow bars show what our emissions profile will be in 2045 if we are successful in all of the activities we've outlined in our climate action plan. And this does not look at emissions from the large industrial sources because we don't regulate those, so we have no ability to control those emissions. But where we do have control, you can see that we have the most emissions from the transportation sector, and to the point about the trucks and why we require electric trucks in our neighborhoods where we can. And then the residential and non-residential energy sectors are our buildings. So transportation and buildings are really where we have the most greenhouse gas emissions going. So we're looking at strategies that will give us cleaner buildings and cleaner transportation. And what you see on the right are the goals and strategies, the goals that we're going to be pursuing with the new climate action plan, looking at the built environment, looking at solid waste, water use, transportation, resilient communities and natural infrastructure. We know that North Richmond is a community that is potentially subject to flooding. So how do we do more projects like the horizontal levee project that's happening on the West County wastewater facility, and other similar type things? And also, how do we think about where do people go when there's a disaster? So how do we build out more resilience hubs and other places to make sure that people are safe? And then thinking a lot about climate equity. As John mentioned, environmental justice is a theme in the general plan. The CAP is really implementing a lot of the general plan. And so we're thinking a lot about how do we make sure that all of those communities that were in yellow on our impacted community maps are getting the funding and other resources that they need to have better quality of life and health outcomes. Leadership is also really important. We've heard a lot from our community as we've been out around the county that people want the county to be a leader on climate issues. I was at a meeting earlier today. I saw someone I hadn't seen in a long time. And I said, oh yeah, last year, Contra Costa County adopted a resolution that requires all new construction to be all electric. And now we're working on a plan for how we're going to convert our existing buildings to be all electric, because we know there are some health issues associated with natural gas in a home, as well as just the emissions. And the guy went, really? Contra Costa? We want to get past that. We want to get to the point where people say, oh yeah, Contra Costa, you guys, you are leading the way. And we really are, and we need to tell that story more, but we also need to do more. And then finally, we have a section on implementation, because we want to be held to account and make sure that we are really fulfilling our promises to you and others when we go forward with our climate action plan. So the climate action plan is a separate document. There are many, many ways that you can give us feedback on these documents. As John mentioned, there's the QR code here, and that will take you to the website. When you're at the website, you can comment a gazillion ways. I'm gonna be taking notes while we talk. If you have questions after this, that's one way to give us feedback. You can send us an email and say, I like this, I don't like this. You probably, I'm gonna be realistic. I don't think you're gonna read a 500-page general plan and a 100-page climate action plan. So if I had to direct you anywhere, I would urge you to look at that community profile for North Richmond. That's in the Strong Communities chapter. John and I have a few copies here if anybody wants one. And then I think the place where you see a lot of the services and quality of life policies brought up is in the Strong Communities element. The Strong Communities chapter. So those are the places, if I had to have my limited time. And then you can just send us an email, you can call us. If you want to be, if you're really someone who likes to get into the weeds on these things, you can go online and comment on the document. We are taking red line comments online on both the general plan and the climate action plan. So there's many, many different ways that you can engage with us. Our schedule is that these documents are out now for public review. We're asking for folks to try to get their comments into us by the end of January. In the next week or two, we hope to publish an environmental impact report that accompanies this project. And then the public comment period will hopefully, people can comment up until the day the Board of Supervisors adopts these documents, which will hopefully be this summer in July or August. But just however it is, we really want to hear from you. Tell us if we got it right. That's really what our message is. How did we do? So I'm going to stop there and take questions from you all. Sure.
I have one. When you said I was on those meetings when you were talking about the planning, hopefully you understand. In one of the suggestions that I personally did and the people that I was with, it was like, what is the line industrial by person the back to make it like residential, which I don't see it here. I feel like it's
this is a very high level summary of a very detailed document. So the policy that you're talking about is deeper in the document. I don't know exactly where, but we can work with you to find it. If it was specific to North Richmond,
yeah,
it's probably in the community profile.
And the other thing is that I see that on the density of housing, what I see in those communities that are, like more impacted communities, I see more like the orange, the darker, the high density. It looks like we're getting, more housing in the smaller places.
So I think to make sure I understood the question was, when you look at the impacted communities like North Richmond or Rodeo or Bay Point, that the colors are like a deeper shade of orange, so it's higher density. Yeah, that's partially.
It means more housing there, right?
Means more housing there.
Well, but it will take, instead of having like more housing in different places or different parts of the city of Alcoa and neighborhoods, it means that we're getting more instead of other places. It's concentrated more on.
Yeah, okay, so we've done, there's a separate part of the general plan called the housing element that we analyzed this quite a bit. And one of the things that we have to do there is to ensure, it's called affirmatively furthering fair housing, and make sure that that we put housing in areas that have, higher resources, that have school, lower crime, etc. So we are definitely conscious and made a very conscious effort to not just put high density housing where there's already some high density housing, but also look at some other communities where there isn't any, like Alamo and somebody at Saranac and some of these other communities further east. And so we've added a lot of new mixed use designations in those communities and in North Richmond and in Rodeo. And so we are striving to put housing equitably and also to try and channel investment. I mean, we understand that new development always has some kind of impacts, but a lot of that impact can be positive. It can be new investment, new residents, investments in infrastructure, etc. So, and I would say that short of looking at, underutilizing things, like we find some parcels in the middle of a town, not necessarily North Richmond, that's vacant, and we look at that, well, it's vacant, it's near some shopping, it's currently zoned for single family residential, but it's got a lot of access. It would be much better to have more density there. That some of that happened, but largely we went through the general plan and we matched the densities to what's already in the community. So that happened in North Richmond. We looked at North Richmond and in blocks and neighborhoods where our density said maximum of 7, we actually counted in the density more like 10. So why would we set a density regulation that says the existing status is too dense? So we tried to right size our regulations to match what's already on the ground.
Just point to that is, I know there's Parkway Estates and there's Development Forward, which is really lower density than what you have planned for. It's kind of what the point is. And why wouldn't you give the option for low to medium or something in that range? So if they did want to continue what was going on there, that they have the opportunity, considering, if you look at the other areas, some of them don't have any of those other shades. The question.
We tried to make sure all the areas have all the things. I mean, we really are looking to find vacant properties throughout to make sure that there's opportunities for infill growth where possible. I mean, the mandate we have from the state is we have to identify suitable capacity for 7,710 residents in the next 8 years. So that's a lot of new housing, and so we had to look really hard to make sure that we could find. Our legal obligation as land use jurisdiction is to show that we have the room to accommodate people that want to live in our communities.
Right, I mean, but her case, it makes sense because, you have over impacted communities and basically opportunity to own maybe a little different out here than it is when people have to go outside the community to get that. So you have an unequal ownership to renters population, and also the values are different, so your tax base is different. So the other places are not, doesn't have that issue, which you talked about, well-resources communities, right? And the other hinge on this is that if you're in a well-resourced community, you have an advantage in state funding to get funding. So over here, we're in an under-resourced area, so we really can't get the money to be able to do what we need to do. And then, and then we, it's like you're making it so it really can't get any housing over here because we don't qualify. So we've already started a trend of ownership here that we wanted to get to equal that out a little bit. So to not be able to have the option to go low to medium or whatever, it limits our options on what we can do. I know it impacts your housing element, but from a community standpoint, it kind of hurts us.
Well, I think we need to talk civics if we're going to, I mean, there's many kinds of home ownership. Doesn't obviously, as you know,
some are dense and some are not so big. That's right. I know there's a lot of ways of doing it, but what has started here was Parkway Estates, Yellow Forest. Those communities have been thriving, and there's another opportunity going forward that the land is coming available. I know it's a big parcel, and you could probably get a good count up there, but it's at a disadvantage. You might not get nothing happening here because they don't compete well in the state's program that's trying to further, what you just said, that's trying to happen. So you kind of impact.
I think so. Good comments, right? I mean, we have lots of things to balance in our jobs. So one of our jobs is to, one thing that I think we've realized now is that every bit of land that's for residential is precious. I mean, we have housing crisis problem. The cost of housing is exorbitant. Homelessness associated with the high cost of housing and other social ills, and so we really have an obligation to maximize the use of land. But on the other hand, not in such a way that it prices housing on the market. Like, you don't want to say, oh, we want 500 units per acre, but no one can afford to build 500 units per acre to get 0 units per acre. They're all ranges. I think if you want to focus in Mr. Chair, on certain areas, we'd love to hear your feedback. If you think we've I mean, like on the housing authority property, we consulted with them, we're trying to.
Yeah, we had another
We
meeting.
got another whole thing, yeah,
Saying that came out in the meeting, yes, that's why she. That's why I'm. Perfect.
yeah,
But they have been very vocal, the community is very vocal about what they ask. But it's contrary to what we have.
right, and did you have something to add?
I was just gonna say that, I see you work for CHDC, so I'm not trying to, great, that's great, it's so nice to meet you.
And I'm aboard.
Okay, but I just want to say that the way that the funding is coming right now from the state and federal government, particularly the Inflation Reduction Act and the, can never remember what IIJA is, but there's a lot of money out there right now. And the requirements are that larger percentages than I have ever seen must go to impacted communities. The federal government calls them EJ 40 communities. So I can't write a grant right now, nor would I want to, unless it is focusing on an impacted community in Contra Costa County. So I don't know the specifics of the housing grants, that's not my area of specialty, but we would love to partner with you. If you see a grant you're interested in and you think we can work in some sustainability features, we can work in a bike share program, EV, electric vehicle chargers. We want to try getting solar with batteries on the roof. That's actually a requirement, if you know these days. We want to partner with you on those types of projects. And we can sponsor some things ourselves, but we really, really need community partners. So one of the messages I'm bringing, one of the reasons I'm making a point for me and my staff to be at every single MAC meeting that's happening on this topic is we want to meet more people in the community and have more partners who we can work with as we move forward. One of the projects I'm looking for right now is how do we develop a countywide tree plan? It's a bigger issue in East County where it gets really, really hot. And we have communities that have very little tree cover. So we want to figure out how are we going to plant more trees and maintain them and make sure that they offer the benefits of shade to folks. And I think we probably would want more trees in this community as well. So these are all things that we're thinking about and we're looking for partners. And so thank you for letting me drone on about that.
Any questions?
There's a raised hand.
Let's keep this together, Anna, go ahead.
Okay, so well, a couple of things. You all said a lot of things. So I heard investments in infrastructure. Is that something that will actually be happening in North Richmond? Also, I just want to point out, I think Will was here maybe a few months earlier, and we talked about the housing piece. And so, yeah, I think maybe if you revisit the conversation that we had with him and implement that, because I think really, having look at the needs of the community, look at our quality of life plan that we've created for ourselves. And yeah, and then I just don't, what do you mean by mixed use? And you said residential, it didn't happen. Why didn't it happen? And then what is this mixed use? And then there was also a planning commission meeting in October where I just want to confirm that, well, the vote was that there would no longer be any new warehouses built in North Richmond. So I want to make sure that stands. And I guess I'll end with that for now.
Yeah. Start with the last one first. Yeah, the Board of Supervisors approved an ordinance prohibiting any more fulfillment center, parcel hubs, these kind of things. So that we've had a 2-year moratorium on those, and we finished that, but we concluded that by making that moratorium permanent. However, things in the pipeline we can't prohibit things that were already approved or in the process. So there are like FedEx building was in the process. The next item on your agenda that's approved. The moratorium doesn't affect that. But I guess to answer your first question about could there be more? There can be more parcel hubs, but a warehouse that's used for like manufacturing, like we've had some people coming in and they want to put in, meal delivery kind of businesses there. Those are not parcel hubs, so those could be allowed. There could be warehouses, but no more fulfillment centers. Mixed use, your question was about mixed use. The mixed use means on the same area, you have both commercial and residential. So the class, picture the old fashioned way of thinking of a mom and pop store on the ground floor, and you have the apartments above. And there's a lot of interest in going back to, we're trying to add mixed use to give more flexibility. The first question was, I'm not sure what will.
So the question about infrastructure, I think we have a project going on right now on Fred Jackson Lane, the North Richmond watershed connection, putting in bike lanes and rain capture, stormwater capture facilities and related. So that's one example of an infrastructure investment, but there are others that we could be probably making as well. And I know that our public works staff is tracking all of those opportunities and always looking for the right one. I've been emailing back and forth with them today, in fact, about where some different grant opportunities that are coming up. So there's a lot of funding out there right now, and we're very actively looking for the opportunities where we can be successful in bringing funds to Contra Costa and North Richmond.
Okay, lastly, I'll just say that we want to make sure that the light industrial and the warehouses, the fulfillment centers don't continue to encroach on the quality of life of this community. So, thank you.
Any other questions? There's another hand up.
Princess.
Princess.
I had a question. Maybe I missed it, but when do they how do they plan on getting like this out to the community if there's a new draft or whatever? And when is the deadline to get responses and stuff in?
The deadline for comments is January 31st, 2024. Although people are able to provide comment, that there'll be many public meetings after that to digest all the comments. So there'll be planning commission meeting, board workshops, planning commission hearing, board hearings, all the way through August. The document, if you go to the agenda for this meeting and you scroll through the packet, you will see the booklet that I've been waving around, and on the back of it is a QR code, and that will take you directly to all the documents, including the one that Jody mentioned that is live comment. You can comment on it live. Jody has something.
I have two things to add. So how are we getting the word out? This is part of how we're getting the word out. So we hope you will tell your friends and neighbors. If you would like another presentation, if you would like us to come and speak on your agenda, a different group, or come back to the MAC, either way, we're happy to do that. We really do want to meet folks where you are. So let us know. We can give a much shorter version of this. And we're also going to be hosting an open house. Supervisor Joya will be hosting an open house in January. We're still working on the date. Real quickly, I forgot to bring the flyers, but our Office of Emergency Services is updating its local hazard mitigation plan. They're actually holding a series of meetings this week, and they have an online survey that they're asking people to take. And I'm gonna take the liberty of hoping Tanya will circulate that to you all if I send it to her. But we would really like to encourage you to take the survey for the local hazard mitigation plan. The Office of Emergency Services is moving very quickly to update this document. It talks about what do we do in the event of different emergencies and hazards. And if they actually are required now to include climate change in the entire document, this is a new requirement. So we think that's really important. And I hope that you will take that survey, and that's part of why I'm helping them advertise the opportunity. Thank you.
You have any?
Yes, I have a question. If you want to microphone to the phone, all you can do it. Oh, but this one's online. Yeah. I think everybody can do it. Okay, thank you for coming this evening. I did get a chance to go through quite a bit of this presentation that was presented to the board. But my question to you all is a general question, the same as the general plan. And it is in the first, it's actually in the first sentence that I would like to have a little bit more clarity on it. And as it states, what is the general plan? The Contra Costa County 2045 general plan is the county's primary policy tool to guide fiscal changes in the unincorporated area of the county over the next 20 years.
to say that, what particular changes are we looking at other than environmental health? What are the things we're really looking at? Is it more housing? Is it more bike lanes? Is it more physical activity? What are we really looking at? I hate to be such a dense. I'm usually in a lot of these meetings, but somehow I don't miss this. So if you can kind of explain that to us all and to myself.
That's a great question. And I think I can understand where the question comes from. And I didn't come up through the county being like a planner's planner. This map is really the heart of it, right? So general plans at the heart of it is regulated. So we're talking about changes because all cities and counties have some say, you know, through their elected process over whether, you know, there's going to be more fulfillment centers or we're going to have more terrain, for instance. That's an example. And this map is the rules of the road. So it's not like, so at its core, the general plan is a regulatory document. It is like, if you've heard the word zoning, the general plan is higher level than zoning. The general plan sets a general roadmap and the zoning provides the details. So if someone came in and said, hey, I want to put the Empire State Building on Fred Jackson Way, we would look at the zoning and say, no, there's a height limit and we can't do that. You know, so that's when we say it's to guide physical changes. It would say no Empire State Building, no Chevron refinery, you know, but you know, a Heritage Point or a senior center. Yeah, these things meet the zoning and are allowed. Now a general plan goes beyond that because it's not just a yes, no. It's not just it's not just a reactive document where developer or property owner X comes in and says, hey, I want to put the Empire State Building. We say, sorry, no, it's in the plan. It also says things like, hey, North Richmond, Rodeo don't have a grocery store. And that's not healthy. And we want to ask staff to write grants to try and encourage that. And so the general plan is a loophole. It's got a yes, no function, but it tries to have the county use its, muscle to try and do what it can. Yeah, but it's not an infrastructure plan. You know, there's a whole other department called Public Works, you know, so it's not like you look in the general plan and it's going to tell you how often Fred Jackson Way is going to be resurfaced and exactly where the bike lanes are going to go. So it's general. Hopefully I answered your question a little bit. Yeah.
Overview, like question, you know. The other, I had another question, if I may. I was looking at the graph on the next to the last page, second to last page, at the bottom, where it says emissions by sector, the climate action plan 2019 versus 2045. And there, it was both about the transportation and looking at the green, how it is at its 400, well, I think 450,000 more, okay, for its mission for transportation. But then I want to know what, and this is just my curiosity, what is it that the water and the wastewater is doing right?
So the waste is, there are just a lot of restrictions on solid waste, more and more have been coming down from the state. And then with water, if we were in a different part of California, we might see more emissions associated with water, because if you're in Southern California, a lot of your water is pumped up and over the Tahoe Mountains. There's a huge energy burden there, and that has emissions. But here, from waste, most of the carbon is coming from things that are decaying, methane, and the landfill. And actually, if you look at the yellow bar, which says 2045, if you look at if we're successful with everything here, in 2045, the solid waste sector is the largest source of emission. The reason for that is things that are in the landfill right now. Right? right? And so that's gonna be an interesting conversation for us to have around the landfills. But first, we gotta tackle these other things. Thank you. These are wonderful questions.
I was just curious about, when you have such a long range plan, or, you know, every 30 years this comes out. How do you factor in, like, does the current demographic, you know, matter? Like, let's say you have a lot of young families and a lot of young children. So in 30 years, maybe you'll have sort of like an aging community. Does the type of people that are there affect land use? Or do you just sort of, like, it doesn't really matter if it's young people, old people, black people, white people, you know, like, do you have to look at the people? Or just the amount of people that may or may not be there? Does that make sense?
I mean, one of the reasons that we started in 2018 and 2019 with a series of community meetings was to develop the community profile and really hear from the community about what are your hopes and aspirations and where do you think the community should be in 30 years. And if you look at the community profile, it includes a number of policies and actions specific to North Richmond. So I think it's a little of both. And John may have more to add because I am far from being a land use player, so.
Some things are really long-term and would be, you know, like the general plan is generally not dealing with population trends of aging and all that. It's looking beyond, it's really a land use lens. But we can amend the general plan. We can amend it 4 times per year, and we do. And we have lots of other policies and things that aren't, you know, that are updated in a more frequent cycle to deal with that kind of thing. So if we have a community that is aging and wants to age in place, and we need new land use restrictions to say, hey, I really want to be able to have an easier way to put in a granny unit because, you know, we want more ability to age in place. We don't have to bake that into the general plan now. We can make those changes later.
So if you need a bunch of elementary schools, or maybe you need a bunch of convalescent homes, you don't get to that granularity necessarily in your.
Well, so it's, you know, we live in a country with divided government, right? So, I mean, we don't really plan where the elementary schools are going to go. I mean, we certainly mark down the existing ones, and if we try and leave room, but all the school districts and water districts and sanitary districts, they rely on this document and other documents to basically say, okay, I see a trend coming. The county's planning more growth in Saranap, and our school in Saranap is pretty full, so we better start an expansion process. And so that's how things come together through the back end, through the divided government. But no, we are not. We certainly have tons of demographic information in the document, but it is, I would say, not driven by. And we certainly have lots of things where we want to provide more equitable service to seniors and that kind of thing. But I would say it is not a boom and bust kind of vision. This is a lasting vision that's because, you know, land uses last longer than these trends. Like if you want an elementary school and it's covered with houses, you can't put the elementary school there, right?
Yeah.
You have to reserve room now. Yeah, it's a good philosophical question, and I don't have the best answer.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Come on, yeah, let's see. That's the point.
You know, we have representatives from Sacramento here, but I think Tasha Seti from PTSC is also present on the Zoom call and probably wants to.
Okay, so you want to lead this meeting, yeah?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, everyone. And thank you for that. That was a really fascinating discussion for those of us at the Department of Toxic Substances Control. You know, all these decisions that you're making about land use really does impact our involvement when we come to clean up sites, you know, not only in your area, but throughout the state. And so it's really interesting conversation, and we'll stay tuned. So I'm here just to introduce myself for those of you I haven't met. I'm Asha Seti. with the Department of Toxic Substances Control, and we've been providing oversight for the Brookside Drive project. I wanted to just let everyone know that we sent out a postcard announcing the approval of the cleanup plan for the site. So that was mailed out to the surrounding community. And also wanted to introduce you to some staff at DTSC that you haven't met yet. We've got our toxicologist here with us today, Vivek Mathrani. Also wanted to let you know that we'll be working with Tanya to set up a meeting where we have a bit more time just to talk about the implementation of the work, what that means for the community protections that will be in place. At that time, we'll bring in our industrial hygienist who's reviewed the air monitoring plan for the site. And so you can understand sort of what all the details of the cleanup work, what that would look like. And then we've got Centerpoint here who can speak to the timeline for the project. We want to have a series of meetings so everyone kind of knows, understands what's going to be happening and feels comfortable with, that community protections are going to be in place. And that you're introduced to the other DTSC staff that have been working on the site. And then we'll be sending out a number of additional mailers in addition to a work notice well in advance of any work that you might see out there. And so with that, I'll hand it over to Vivek, who's our toxicologist and was the risk assessor for the site. And he can tell you a little bit about, his role in the project, and answer any questions you may have. And then we can hear from Centerpoint about specifics, about timeline. And we're here for any, if you have any questions, we'd love to take those as well.
My name is Vivek Mathrani. I'm a senior toxicologist with the Department of Toxic Substances Control. Back when I was staff level, I was providing technical review for the removal action work plan, which is the document, the decision document that DTSC reviews to ensure that whatever removal action is implemented for the site is protective of human health for the future and for the surrounding community. So that has been final, as Asha alluded to. Because it's a decision document, it goes through our public participation process. So we will have a community meeting in early 2024. And that being said, I will be the point of contact for any questions related to human health risk or toxicology. And more so as we transition into the removal implementation and the completion report for the Brookside Drive site, we will be involving another toxicologist who is in the Northern California unit for our Human and Ecological Risk Office. So we're happy to answer any questions now, but do know that we'll be having a full-fledged community meeting planned for early 2024 for this project.
Does anyone have any questions for Vivek or general questions for us before we just hand it off to Centerpoint to speak about the timeline for the work? Okay, I'll pass it on to Centerpoint then.
Yeah.
Oh, there's one question.
Did they mail that postcard to everyone in RIchmond or just some people, to the site?
Yeah, that's a good question. We mailed to a couple thousand addresses surrounding the site, so a little more than a quarter mile, maybe up to a half mile around the site. It didn't go out to the entirety of North Richmond. So if you'd like to get on our mailing list, please let me know your contact information. We're happy to add on additional addresses. I'll leave my email and my phone number in the chat here. We're happy to add on, additional addresses, whoever's interested in being notified about the site.
Yeah,
so is the plan mailed throughout the community, or you say where you have access to read it or something like that?
Yeah, so we've mailed just to the areas surrounding the site. So it's about a quarter mile to a half mile range surrounding the site. And we're happy to add on additional addresses. You know, anyone else who's outside of the area, we're happy to mail mail information or add folks to our email list. You know, we're providing everything to Tanya so she can send out an e-blast, and if anybody else has any networks or social media, please do. Would be, you know, we'd be really pleased if you could help us spread the word or provide us with any suggestions for, you know, how we can do better with outreach as well.
Go ahead.
So my question, just to be clear on the distribution of whatever this postcard or whatever went out. So Center Point, this location, what is this location and how far? I know you say about a mile radius out of what, half a mile? Half a mile. So what, and so I can get a variance. So what is the location of Center Point?
It's 506 Brookside Drive.
506. What is it? Just, okay, wait a minute.
It's sandwiched between the farm and the park.
Oh, okay, between the farm and.
The farm and park, okay, so therefore you would come into North Richmond. You would come into North Richmond.
You want to know where the radius is?
Yeah, I'm looking at the radius, so therefore you said a half mile? Okay, so you coming from, so you going from Lucky A, so you coming all the way south, all the way to Hensley. You could say Hensley or the Iron Triangle, correct? And then you're going westward, which is not that much going on westward, okay? Right, the parkway, that's only the parkway and industry. And then you're coming back east. So if you come east, you have the border of San Pablo right over the tracks. And that's less than a half a mile. You're going into San Pablo.
Yeah, I think it's, and I can look at the details. Oh, sorry to interrupt, but I can, yeah, if you could provide me with your, oh, go ahead.
I'm just looking at the various, we're going northeast, south, or west. And what is available and who will be receiving this information? Because again, looking at the parkway is west of us. There's nothing too much happening over there, but our parkway stage and our other, and other development that we shared. So you're looking at north, and that's the farm. You know, we're looking at the farm, there's not any activity going there, you know, at that point. And then you're heading east, and you have Birdie School, and then you have the borderline of San Pablo going across the track. So Old Town San Pablo will be getting that information possibly because you said a half a mile, correct?
You know, I said it ranged from a quarter mile to a half mile, and I can provide you with additional. Yeah, I can tell you what the radius is. I don't have it available at my fingertips, but if you provide me with your contact information, I can tell you exactly what that boundary is, and we're open to suggestions as far as expanding the mailing list.
Well, the boundary is going into San Pablo, that's what I'm saying.
So you're open.
You get past it, you're going into San Pablo.
So you're open to expanding.
Yes.
The radius.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would encourage that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and who was it that was speaking? If you wouldn't mind.
You're speaking to Annie King Meredith.
And would you be able to provide me with your contact information? I'd love to follow up with you.
Right.
Okay.
I know you, could you send them my email, please? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Just a quick question. If I'm understanding the information I just heard, is the Brookside property going to be studied to see if there's any toxic stuff at the site? Is that what the toxicologist, is that what you guys were explaining?
Yeah, so the Brookside site has already been sampled. The soil and groundwater have been sampled, and contamination has been found there consistent with former agricultural practices. So there's the disposed oils out there. There's certain types of pesticides that do not degrade very quickly, and there are some metals out there too, like lead and arsenic. It's an open field from what I had seen in the characterization. And the reason it came into scope is because there's a proposed redevelopment, and when a redevelopment is proposed over there, DTSC has the authority and oversight to ensure that the future use is safe for the future occupants and the surrounding community.
So you have to deal with all those things you just mentioned that were found there?
Correct. That's why the document that's triggering a community meeting in early 2024 is called a removal action work plan. So what is the plan to remove or manage the contamination that was found on the property?
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
And
Thanks for your
that
question.
you have already, or are you working on it?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Do you have the plan, or are you working on the plan?
No, the plan is available. It's publicly available. I actually put the link in the chat for the Zoom. It's our public EnviroStore website, and it's called the document is called a removal action work plan.
So is there a quick summary of what you're gonna do there for people that might not, or is there no way to say anything quick?
Well, the removal plan includes excavating soil that is contaminated above risk-based levels that our toxicology program at DTSC considers where we should start looking at what we call screening levels, above which we have an authority to act upon. And also it includes a groundwater monitoring program to make sure that groundwater does not become further impacted over time. So those are the basic tenets of the work plan. Those are the actions that are intended in that work plan.
Now, I just want to also add that that's why we're planning another meeting to give us more time, because we know how dense and complicated this report is. It's, it's really hard to kind of understand what's going to happen at the site, so that's why we're hosting another meeting, and I'll work really closely with DTSC and CenterPoint to make sure that we provide that information before the meeting and create graphs and illustrations to make it easier to digest, because it is very complicated to just like any regular person that doesn't understand remediation of hazardous materials.
Okay, that's great. I think that's really good.
Right. Yeah. Cynthia would like to say something.
Yes.
Okay, so you said you sent out flyers pertaining to the work you're doing, and what was the radius you mentioned?
It's about 1/4 of a mile. It ranged, I don't have the exact area in front of me, but about it generally when we go out into communities to introduce ourselves and send out information related to proposed cleanup activities. We start with looking at around the edge of the site, about 1/4 of a mile, and we extend, in some areas, depending on the geographic features. You can't go out in one direction, you can go further out in another direction. It's going to be an irregular shape. It's not going to be a circle.
Because Annie had questions about that, and I just looked up on the internet. North Richmond is like 1.5 square miles, and so I was just trying to check it out.
Yeah, and it would be nice, right, if we're able to, send to an entire city. There are about 2,000 addresses on our mailing list, I believe, but we're happy to add on additional addresses. Are there any questions for CenterPoint, as far as maybe CenterPoint could provide just an overview of sort of the timeline as far as
just
when.
waiting for this to conclude. So if there are no more questions, the DTSC.
I just want to open. Sorry, my apologies, but someone on the chat said question.
Okay.
And it doesn't have an actual question. It doesn't have a question. But if you want to ask a question, Boston iPhone. I hope I'm saying it right. If not, I think we should just move.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for your time. My name is Ryan Culliver. I'm Director of Development of CenterPoint. With me, I have Kevin Lau, who's going to be our project manager for construction of the project, including cleanup. I also have Peter Langtree, our environmental consultant, who wrote the plan and navigated this very complex process with DTSC by CenterPoint's side. We also have Gregory Townsend, who's going to be our on-site community liaison during the cleanup. Will be available to answer any questions from members. Just kind of a quick snapshot of the project in a nutshell. CenterPoint's a real estate company. We bought this property back in 2018. It was sort of a fallow nursery site. Agricultural uses had ceased about a decade prior to that. And we started developing a plan through the County of Contra Costa to redevelop the site into light industrial buildings. That plan was eventually approved by the county supervisors in May 2022. As part of that, as I said, we're working on this cleanup plan, DTSC's oversight. That was eventually, the RAW was eventually approved in August 2023. So since that time, we've been going through the county's plan check process to get our grading and building permits. That's still ongoing. I think we'll probably end up getting through that in the middle part of next year, if not a little bit sooner. So that's kind of where we're at. We're working alongside DTSC to actually put together the detailed engineering documents that'll guide the cleanup process of the site. And again, working alongside them to put together community outreach documents and attend and plan for community meetings. But overall, our timeline looks like probably starting in the winter of next year, maybe the spring, starting to get going on some of this preparatory work for the cleanup. Again, that's confirmation sampling, abandonment of wells. We have to do some final groundwater sampling there before we start work. So overall, we're roughly targeting probably the middle of next year for that work, and then ultimately starting cleanup, if all goes well, probably summer of 2024. And following the cleanup work, which is estimated to take about 10 days in total, but with all the prep work, probably about a month. After that, probably starting construction in Q4 of next year, if the market is there for these buildings to be built. So that's kind of our current trajectory right now. Again, we're available if anybody has questions or wants to meet about the project or the cleanup in particular. And we'll be attending these meetings and available for questions from anybody. So maybe I'll just stop there and kind of ask questions.
Let's see, does anyone up in this? Right. Okay, I think we're good.
I think Option iPhone had a question and is asked to be unmuted.
We didn't see that here.
Hello, can you guys hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes, we can.
Okay, how you doing? Asha?
Yes,
good. I just had a question about your business. Who do we hold accountable for that toxic that's in our community? And that's part one of that. And part two is it dangerous to humans? Like, does it cause cancer or is it harm to us by any way, form, or fashion?
Yeah, those are great questions, and that's why we're involved. And as far as who do we hold accountable, so we hold the polluter accountable, or whoever's purchased the property. And so in this case, CenterPoint is paying for the costs of the cleanup since they purchased the property. But generally speaking, when we look to clean up a site, we look to see, well, who originally polluted the property, and we want to make sure that those funds, they're paying for the cost, and then folks who, the properties get passed on, there may be multiple property responsible parties that we chase down to pay for those costs. And then I'll hand it over to Vivek to talk about, potential. You asked about dangers.
Yeah, so for the contaminants that we see on these properties, these are legacy contaminants that were released into the property before even environmental regulators existed in the United States. So these are contaminants that have withstood decades of, weathering, wear and tear. They are persistent, right? They don't break down. And that's why here in 2023, we can still find them in the ground, right? They're not going anywhere. So when we think about alternatives or possibilities for how to remedy them, sitting around and waiting for them to disappear is not an option. That's why we have the responsible party who is responsible for the cleanup draft a removal action work plan. DTSC staff review it and provide comments on protective approaches to managing that contamination. And as I said, with regard to how to manage it, because they're persistent, the best way to do it is to remove the worst acting contamination, right? And monitor conditions with groundwater to make sure that none of it's migrating off the site. With regard to the health effects, yes, some of them are known carcinogens. Some of them are classified as possibly carcinogenic. The state of California doesn't make a difference between the two. If we think it's carcinogenic, we treat it as a carcinogen and we assess it accordingly. Some of the others have, like lead, the main effect of lead. We're assuming that a child is on site eating dirt, and we treat the lead as it should be, as a neurotoxicant for children. And we have cleanup levels that are risk-based to protect that. If we clean up to that level, that we will assess that a child, even if a child were to go onto that property and start eating dirt, right, that they would not have any adverse effects. So all of that is in the removal action work plan, which is publicly available. It's available for review. I put the link in the chat, and we will be unpacking this issue a little bit more in our community meeting in early 2024. Does that answer your question?
Cynthia has one more thing to say.
Yeah, please.
I would just like to point out that this particular piece of property is similar to property that the Richmond Parkway was built on. There were flower nurseries where the Richmond Parkway is now. So I'm pretty sure Parkway came across the same problems that Centerpoint is having when they decided to build the houses over there on the Richmond Parkway. That's all I want to say.
I think that's all.
And one more follow up to the. I know you said if they. I'm sorry. If they. Sorry. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. I know you said if the child was to physically touch or eat dirt, they will see some type of, you're trying to have that clean, but what is the excuse me, what is the radius of the toxins as of today? I've been living in North Richmond all my life, and I raised my kids out here. Mm-hmm. So I would like to know, what is the radius of the toxins, and would it affect me and my family as of the day to today?
So what we know about the site is that the site was formerly the source of it. So for the agricultural operations that were on site did not extend off the property. So anybody would have to go onto the site right now to be exposed to whatever is found in surface soils. That being said, if you have not traversed the site, then you would not be exposed to whatever is linked to the history of that site and the releases on that site. And more so, you would have to be exposed over several years in order to experience any adverse effects. So the concentrations that we're cleaning up to are based on chronic exposure, so long-term exposure and they're so low that we are very, very confident that you would not see any adverse effects in a short term if you were to go over there for one day or a couple of days in a year or something like that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
That's it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just have to say that I have to spread my, I have a concern about this one. I live not really far from the site, and I know that those things have been there forever, but have not been disturbed. So once you start, digging or doing something, I'm really afraid that they are gonna somehow at one point we're gonna get some on the by the air. You know, we have fruits, we have some veggies growing in our trees and everything like that. So I'm really want to stress you that I'm really concerned about this. That's how the wind is gonna how the wind is blowing. And I don't know if I saw that that you will stop that excavation or the activity if you stop 20 miles per hour. I'm not sure if I'm wrong. I think I read something about that. And to me, to get to the way to get 20 miles a minute is like a lot. So I think we usually have really strong winds here, but we will not hit that high. But still, if I throw something in my house, the wind blows it. You know, it's like the extremes. You know, from how that wind has to be how strong it has to be for you to start or to consider to like start the excavation for that time. I mean, it's like I'm not sure if it makes sense to me, like because when I see it, with less than 20 miles, it will blow really hard and we'll get someone will get some of the gas.
Yeah.
And I know a child who is sorry, how a child was very sensitive to all those things, so that's my biggest concern.
Yeah, understood, and I think to address those concerns, you know, there's certain mitigations or measures that are built into the community air monitoring plan component of the cleanup. Like you were saying, there's wind monitoring every day of wind and downwind locations. There's perimeter air monitoring. People will have people out there, or consultant will have people out there with meters that are measuring the dust particles or the concentration of dust particles at perimeters of the site to make sure they're not going above a certain level, and if they are, they have to stop work. And on top of that, there's going to be water trucks out there constantly spraying water to keep the dust down. And then any trucks that are leaving the site have to go through a decontamination zone where they're washing down the tires with detergent, making sure that they're not tracking dirt off the site. So generally, that's the sort of measures that are going to be implemented here. And then if there's any issues that you see or any other public, member of the public sees, there's going to be a sign on the fence that says you can call, any time of day to report an issue that you see. We will take that seriously and address it. Okay, thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time.
Okay, we're gonna move on to operation urban nature, watershed project.
Hi, folks. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much for Jody and her team and for Asha and her team for the really interesting presentations. Mine's going to be much quicker and lighter for sure. I want to share a resource that the Watershed Project has finished creating for the North Richmond neighborhood, and that is the Urban Nature Loop. It's a walking tour, a self-guided walking tour in the neighborhood of North Richmond. It starts at Verde School, walks along the Wildcat Creek Trail toward Fred Jackson, toward the ballpark. There's an indication to continue to Urban Tilt, but the tour itself goes down on Fred Jackson and then turns left on Chesley Street, hugs Shields Reeds Park, goes all around the Shields Reeds Park and back to Verde on Guillermita. That's why it's a loop. And then there's an extension to the other side of the Wildcat Creek Trail toward the Fish Passage. And this project was created as part of the North Richmond Watershed Connection Project. I see other people that have worked on this project here. John's here, hello. So it was a project that was a collaboration between the Watershed Project, the county, and Urban Tales as well. Each of us created a different component of this project. And the project, by the way, got multiple awards for accomplishing what it did. And the goal of this component of the project was to get people outside, to better connect people with their environment, especially with the watershed and the creek. You know, it's such a unique resource to have an open creek in the neighborhood, and too many people have never walked along the trail and don't notice things. You know, I feel that about myself. Often I walk in streets in urban streets, and I forget that, you know, I am walking in nature. And so this self-guided tour really tries to tell people about these resources. And as we were working on it, you know, a large team of people worked on this resource. We had our staff working on it, our Green Color Corp working on it, the Youth and Young Adults internship program that works at the Watershed Project. We had students from UC Berkeley working on it, and we ended up developing 19 points of interest. And it ended up being a really large resource on community resources and environmental resources in the neighborhood. And the reason I stayed home, I'm not there with you, is because I want to show you the resource itself. I want to show you what it looks like. And before that, I want to tell you that there's 3 different levels. So the most simple level is looking at this resource on a desktop, which is what I'm going to show you today, using either our website or a website called Pocket Site. So that's the most basic level. The other way to do it is to walk the path. If you walk along the path, you'll see decals, you'll see stickers on the sidewalk that indicates that you are along the urban nature loop. And there's different stickers with QR codes that look, let me share my screen so you can see that. Yeah. Stickers that look like this with QR codes, and if you point your phone to the QR code, then it opens information on that point of interest. So you can just walk along the path, and with there's arrows along the path as well. And when you see these QR codes, then you can open and view the information, and I'll show you an example of that type of information in a second. And then if you look at these beautiful stickers, we worked with an artist that created 10 unique stickers of plants and animals that exist in the Wildcat watershed. And we installed those stickers along what we call the Safe Routes to School, which is the route kids walk from Verde School toward the Shields Reed's after school program in the Shields Reed Center. So to make the path more fun for them, we install these stickers that have information on some of the plants and animals. And also, for example, the Chochenyo names, when possible, of these plants and animals, so they can learn Chochenyo and be connected more to the tribal heritage and legacy in this area. All right, so that's the second level, and the third level is to download a free app called Pocket Site to your phone. And once you download that app to your phone, then it automatically identifies where you are, and when you walk the path, it opens up that point of interest. And I want to show you what I'm talking about. So bear with me one moment. All right. I actually want to start from here. No. Okay. So this is the Pocket Site website. And again, this is the best way to watch it is on your phone with a Pocket Site app. But this is the Urban Nature Loop. There's some information about it. This is the Urban Nature Loop map. And as I said, there's 19 points of interest. And if, for example, you click on this one, which is the Tribal Connection Creek and Fish, and open the point of interest itself, then you see you have a short text on the creek and a few photos. It's not that nice on the website. It looks much better on the phone. And then there's short videos. So for example, this is an interview we took with tribal community members. And if I go and select another photo, there's also an interview with Princess. There's an interview with Ilode. There's an interview with Kalu. So there's interview with, I don't remember who, but somebody from Urban Tilth. So all of these points of interest, when you walk or click on the map, you can access them. So let me just, for example, show you, I don't know, one more about native oaks and their ecosystems. No, let me check. Let me take the one with I love it. Yeah. Okay. So again, and so we try to select points of interest that not only have information on the nature, but also on community and especially community activism. Actually, there's two more that are really interesting. We worked a lot to collect data on the neighborhood and on resources that are important to the neighborhood. So for example, at Shields Reed Park, we talk about the renovation of Shields Reed Park, the history of environmental justice in the neighborhood, the music scene, and then the North Richmond Blues Festival. And we have an interview with another person you know here, right? And one last point I want to show you. So community resources talks about different community resources in the neighborhood. And this is the interview with Kalu. And then just the last one is there's a point also about, no, not this one. Bear with me. This is the last point I wanted to show you. Community activism, and we have photos and some text on Fred Jackson and Charlie Reed and Henry Clark and Princess Robinson. The other thing I wanted to tell you is all of this resources translated into Spanish. It's available in Spanish both on the PocketSide app and on our website. So if you go to our website, the North Richmond, and I'll drop the link in a second, both to the PocketSide app and to the North Richmond Urban Nature Loop on our website, then this isn't what I wanted to show you. Here it is. Bear with me 1 second. There's too many tabs open. Okay, here it is. So these two QR codes, if you open them, then it brings you to the Android or iPhone website where you can download the free PocketSide app and walk with it. Just take headphones and start walking the streets. And I think that is all. I think that I just really wanted to share this resource with you. It is for the community. Just letting you know that it's open. I mean, if you walk and you use the app, then you can add photos, your own photos, or add your own remarks, and then we add those to the tour itself. We can always correct information, add information, add points of interest. That we are hoping for this to serve as a living resource and museum for the North Richmond community, and hoping to see it grow in the future. That's it.
Question. I have a question, a couple of questions. So that was a great presentation. But I have a question about the, I guess, uploading and downloading information, factual information to be on this website. One of the things that I would really ask for you to probably do, is to go to, the exploration of our history part 1, 2, 3, and 4. That will really bring you over decades of North Richmond to actually be a part of this that you have. Very factual. Work has been actually done to have this information out there. So you really won't have to really search for a lot of things for the history of North Richmond itself. I see that you do have, you do have Dr. Clark there. I think you mentioned Princess, but we have Fred Jackson on those videos that has certain parts 1, 2, and 3, and 4 from 1944 to the present of 2000, at least 2004, 15 done by direct. So that information can be shared also if you would like to look here with Dr. Henry Clark talking and Lynn about Toxic Coalition and the body of work that he's done over the decades. Also, Fred's there, so we have Fred, I'm pretty sure we have Fred before his passing. So we have a lot of information that is factual and it's there that can be utilized on the website. So you don't have to really dig or ask for anything, just go to our exploration of our history done through Doug Harris and myself, and also information was provided by Cynthia. And you will see that information. Also, you will see Don and his quest for what he's done for redevelopment out here in the community. So you have everything in a nutshell if you need to go to that information. And again, it's not just individuals just speaking on what they think that has happened here. It's all factual from interviews and testimonies, but from individuals that have lived through it. So I just wanted to share that. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I want to say that actually when I did research on various resources for the community, especially for the Shields Reads, for the North Richmond Blues Festival and for the Legacy of Music in North Richmond, I found Doug's website, and I actually contacted him and spoke with him, and he gave us permission to use some of the photos. And the idea with this app is that the information won't be long, because we want people to walk and read, or listen to a few sentences. But we do link his website and the Doug Harris Media on the app. So if you want more resources, you can get it there. But I agree with you. It's an amazing resource. I'm really happy that I came across.
Okay, I just missed that. You're down. I kind of missed it, y'all. Hear what you said. I kind of missed it. Glad.
You said you haven't, she came across it.
Okay, very good. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? I don't see anyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If I can just say one more word, I really encourage everyone to try this out. Let us know if there's any corrections, any additions you'd like, and help us, spread the word. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. We'll move to item 7, and that is the City of Richmond Community Services Department. There we go.
Okay. I'm Jessica. I'm with the North Richmond Mobile Tool Library. So this is a community resource for North Richmond residents, where we have over 300 tools, and you can check out tools for free. We are down at 1401 Fred Jackson Way on the 1st and 3rd Saturdays of every month. So if you ever need tools and you are a resident or non-profit working in North Richmond, you have free access. Also, we are hiring. There's a part-time position, like 15, 20 hours a week, to be part of helping the tool library run. So if you want any more information about the tool library or about the position,
You can I type, can I type in the chat here, like put my phone number or something? Yeah, I'll just add my information into the chat, or if you're in the room here, just come and talk to me. Thank you. Yes.
Okay. Anyone, Shields reading every council? Oh, anyone's Zoom? Council authority.
Good evening, everybody. It's nice to see you all. Real quick summary of what's been going on with our little project out there in North Richmond. We held our first community meeting this past Saturday, right there in the senior center. We had all 4 developers who successfully competed to buy the 16 buildings at below market rate there. They each ran through their presentations about their plan to rehab the units and how they plan to market and sell the units to families with incomes at 80% of area median income, and preferably who are from North Richmond. It was really well attended. There was about 60 people in the room, and there was quite a number of other folks on Zoom. I'm going to put some of the links to the recording and the PowerPoint in the chat. And also, just to kind of give you an idea what else is happening around all of this, while we're having these community meetings, we're talking to HUD about getting approval on all 16 sales of the below market units. Everything that we sell out of North Richmond is going to have to be approved by HUD individually. So we have meetings scheduled with them. And as we're talking to them and waiting for approval on that, we're also putting together the request for qualifications and the request for proposal to start, formulating what that's going to look like for the main campus. It's going to take a while to do all this. We're hoping to have the RFQ rolled out by before the summer of 2024. We'll hopefully meet that goal. We'll keep you posted on the progress as we go along here. In the meantime, if you haven't signed up for our newsletter, please do so on our website. I'll also put the link in the chat, and it's a great way to stay on top of what's happening and what events are coming up and see what progress is being made. If anybody has any questions, I can answer those now.
I have a quick one for you. Good evening. My question is, I have property on Birdie, and it is connected to one of the housing authority property, and we share a huge tree. The tree is about 85 years of age. It has grown through the fence. So we have a third on my property and 2/3 on your property. Its limbs is now touching the roof of my property. Is it still happening that you all are trimming trees that is invasive on private property?
We are trimming trees. I'm not sure if it's the one I saw a picture of earlier this week. Is it the one? Is it the tree that there's a fence going right through the middle of it?
Yeah, I sent pictures. I had the gentleman that sent me pictures, and I told him to tell you that it was Annie.
Yeah. So I think that whole scenario is a problem as it is. I mean, it's kind of strange as a fence is growing through the middle of the root of a tree. So I think we should all sit down and talk and figure out how to deal with that tree. We certainly don't want it hanging over, being a nuisance to your property, let alone kind of being a hazard, with a fence growing through it. I don't know how that happened, but we are.
Yeah, the tree.
We are aware of it. We are going to take care of it.
Right, it's about 90 years old now, and it started on that property. It just happened to grow. So thank you, you can contact me, I'll let them put my information.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Tony. That's our next something. Okay, we'll go now to Judge Joy's office.
Hello, everyone. I want to quickly invite everyone to our holiday party this Thursday at our office. We're on the corner of San Pablo Avenue and Wall, by Home Depot and like the Starbucks and the vet. We do our annual fundraiser for Verde Elementary School, and this year we're gonna buy every student a rain jacket and a book. And so this is kind of like our annual holiday party that we have at our office, and we have like free kind of like appetizers and desserts and non-alcoholic drinks to kind of also just celebrate all of our work that we do every year. So we invite West County and the county at large to just come and celebrate with us another year of hard work, and also to support North Richmond families by supporting the fundraiser. So it's this Thursday, December 7th at 5:30 p.m. at our office, and I really hope to see everyone.
Thank you, Tony. CHDC, we continue to do what we're doing. I'm gonna turn it over to Kaluba Joy.
So, my name is Kyle Williams. I am the Chief Research Coordinator for Communication. Here at the Center for the Southern Senior Family Community Center, we have our turkey tabling. I don't have the numbers for me, but they gave out over 100 turkeys to the community. That's really, really well. Also at the center, we have a lot of programs. We have a food pantry, Tuesday to Friday, 9 to 11, food day. And, you know, the community, it seems like the program is growing, you know, every month. So, you know, spread the word. We have a food bank right here at the schools. They also have a ton of programs, classes, and things like that that they give. I don't have time to run through all of it, but also at our community resource center, continues to grow. I have over 100 residents of this community resource center again this past month. They continue to host meetings, classes throughout the month. So we're still coming from that piece of the business as a resource for Richmond. Like I said, I'll go into communication piece. Anybody have any questions about CHDC? No? Okay. So I go into the mitigation piece. We have our North Richmond Green newsletter that's coming out. Probably start handing it out next week. Since a lot of the talk has been on the street sweeping, myself, Tanya, Public Works, Tyler's working hard trying to get answers and so I can get there for once ago. So I kind of use this newsletter to talk about the street sweeping program. I know that some of the signs are faded out there and it's something that's out of my control. But what Timberlake was sending me information and definitely also take that kind of information about the future program. So we made that the highlight of this newsletter. On the beginning page, talked about the program straight from the website, and on the back page, it has the street sweeping schedule. So we just want to make sure that everybody understands this schedule, and hopefully everyone, we can get everyone to participate in the hard with the deals. So we get on the streets, the curbs clean. I know Public Works is talking about having someone come out and blow out the trash for the curbs. But I think if we get everybody locked in on moving their cars during the street sweeping days, hopefully that will make a big difference and keep our waterways, watershed area clear, debris and contaminants, things of that nature. And I also want to just shout out public services. Doing a great job. We talk constantly. I know Janine talks to him constantly also. Just about the great job that they're doing in the past couple of months. Seeing less and less trash out there because of what they're doing. My patrols, I'm still getting about 150 last month, but I have to really get things that I'm putting out. You know, so they're doing a great job getting this trash out there. talked with them today, just commending them and just hopefully they just keep up the job, keep doing a great job for us. But the mitigation team, the sheriff department, everybody's doing their job. It makes it a lot easier to keep our streets and
Great job. All right, I don't see any questions. Richmond Land. Like one, two. Right.
I don't have recent no longer. You sent out an email to.
Oh. Who? Said that she was on. Oh, okay, but she's still with me.
She's still on.
Corporation Richmond, Princess still here?
Princess.
I don't know if Princess is on it anymore. I don't see her.
Okay, Urban Jill.
Hey there. Construction, we are, so there are some buildings coming out of the ground, so just as a recap for this year, we got the rain gardens up at the beginning of the year, then we got the underground utilities installed, and we connected the water, the sewer to the water district. And now, we have the building pads in place for phase 2, and we have the foundation for the greenhouse going up. So excited about buildings coming out of the ground. We do have the Community Advisory Committee that's online, and they are currently advising on phase 2 art installations. And they will also be advising on artists for that. They'll be helping with the RFP for that. Let's see here. I think that's it. If you want to help volunteer to get bags out to the schools, contact me. If you want to be, also put the flyer in the chat for if you want to learn how to do home gardening. And I see Lucas. Is that you there? Did you want to say something?
I guess I didn't introduce myself. I'm doing outreach for the watershed group and program effort specifically. So yeah, Lucas here. So if y'all need questions for watershed specific items, feel free to reach out. I can put my contact info in the chat. So yeah, nice to meet everybody that be here.
Yeah, the watershed, they do our creeks, so the Wildcat Canyon, San Pablo Creek, and local creeks in Albany and throughout the Bay, work with the Park District. We also employ, we train people to in that area. So we pay people for training in that area. We paid a lot of people this year. We had the summer apprenticeship, we had the Creek program, and we also had the fellows. So happy to be a part of the North Richmond economy. Thanks.
Thank you so much. That concludes our agenda. Thank you, everybody. And we are done.
Okay.
Yes, I will. I did not forget. Thank you for
Good night. Okay.
No me olvido, amiga. Esto le pongo el dedo al bebé.
Chair, stay on this.